The Prince of Your Kingdom, Machiavelli's blueprint for building power in complete isolation. The awakening picture this, Florence, 1513. A man sits alone in a cramped cottage, exiled, broke, forgotten by the very city he once served. His political career is destroyed. His friends have abandoned him. The powerful families that once sought his counsel now pretend he never existed. Most men in his position would have given up, written bitter memoirs, drunk themselves into obscurity. But Niccolò Machiavelli did something different. In that isolation, in that complete and utter abandonment, he wrote a book that would influence leaders for the next 500 years. A book so ruthlessly honest about power that his name became synonymous with cunning itself. He didn't write it because he had support. He wrote it because he had none. And if you're watching this, you know exactly how that feels. You felt it, haven't you? That specific kind of loneliness that comes when you're trying to build something and you look around for help, and there's just silence. Your family thinks you're wasting your time. Your friends stopped asking about your little project. Your partner is supportive in that patient, pitying way that means they're waiting for you to come to your senses. You thought success would look like a team, a support system, people who believed in you. Instead, it's you, alone at 2 a.m., wondering if you're delusional. But here's what Machiavelli understood, that you're about to learn, that isolation isn't your weakness, it's your nuclear advantage. In The Prince, Machiavelli wrote something that most people misunderstand. He said, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." Everyone quotes that line. Almost no one understands it. He wasn't talking about being cruel. He was talking about being independent. When you are loved, you are vulnerable. Your power depends on the continued affection of others. They can withdraw it at any moment. You are, in essence, their prisoner. When you are feared, or better yet, when you are respected through undeniable competence, your power is yours alone. This applies to your isolation right now. When you have support, you are dependent. When you have none, you are sovereign. Let me show you something that's going to sting a little. Every time you've asked for help, you've traded a piece of your empire. Can you introduce me to? Now you owe a favor. Can you invest in? Can you just support me while I? Now they own a percentage. Can you just support me while I? Now they have veto power over your decisions. Machiavelli watched this play out in Renaissance Italy. He saw princes who borrowed armies from stronger neighbors. Sure, those armies helped them win battles, but then what? The prince who lent the army now owns you. You're a puppet. He called these auxiliary forces, and he warned against them absolutely. Your friend's support is your auxiliary force. Think about it. When someone supports your business idea, don't they always have suggestions, changes, conditions? I love it, but what if you made it more like some watered-down version? You thought you were getting help. You were actually getting colonized. Here's where it gets interesting. When you have zero support, you have zero obligations. You can pivot without asking permission. You can work at 3 a.m. without explaining yourself. You can take risks that would make a committee vomit. You can fail privately and learn without an audience. You are operating at the speed of one. Machiavelli himself proved this. After his exile, he had no political position to protect, no allies to consult, no reputation to maintain. So he could write exactly what he observed about power without sugarcoating it for anyone's sensibilities. That book was rejected by everyone when he first circulated it. Too honest, too dark, too real. But centuries later, it's the most influential political text ever written, because truth, unfiltered by the need for approval, has a way of enduring. Now, let's talk strategy. Specifically, how Machiavelli would operate in your situation. Rule 1. Silence is your fortress. In chapter 23 of The Prince, Machiavelli warns against flatterers and advisors who tell you what you want to hear. But here's the twist. When you're alone, you have no one to flatter you. That's painful, yes, but it's also purifying. You need to take a vow of operational silence. Stop posting big things coming on social media. Stop telling your friends about your plans. Stop seeking validation through conversation. Why? Because every time you speak your ambition, you bleed energy. You get a little dopamine hit from people saying, "Wow, that's cool," and your brain thinks you've already achieved it. The pressure releases. You relax. You stop working. Machiavelli understood this. He didn't go around Florence telling everyone he was writing a masterpiece. He just wrote it. Operate like a covert operative. Results first, revelation later. Machiavelli had this concept called virtue. It's often mistranslated as virtue in the moral sense. That's not what he meant. Virtue is capability, prowess, the ability to impose your will on fortune through skill, cunning, and relentless execution. He contrasted it with fortuna, luck, chance, the circumstances you can't control. His argument was simple: you can't control luck, but you can develop so much virtue that you become immune to bad luck. Translation for you: become so skilled that support becomes irrelevant. When you're alone, you're forced to develop multidimensional competence. You learn marketing because there's no marketing team. You learn sales because there's no sales department. You learn product because you're building it yourself. You learn finance because it's your money on the line. The supported entrepreneur becomes a specialist. They delegate everything except their zone of genius. You become a complete weapon. And here's the kicker. In 5 years, when the market shifts and that specialist's one skill becomes obsolete, they're done. But you can rebuild from scratch because you know the entire stack. Machiavelli saw this with military leaders. The ones who only knew how to command but not fight, they fell easily. The ones who could fight, strategize, and command, they became legends. Let's talk about something uncomfortable. When you're building alone, you need energy, lots of it. The supported person runs on positive fuel, encouragement, excitement, team energy. You don't have that. So where do you get your fuel? From the dark. Machiavelli would tell you to use what he called the lion and the fox. The lion is aggression. The fox is cunning. You need both, and you need to stop feeling guilty about it. Are you angry that people doubted you? Good. Use it. Are you bitter about being left behind? Good. Channel it. Do you have something to prove? Good. Let that drive you. I'm not saying become a villain. I'm saying stop pretending that resentment, pride, and competitive fury aren't legitimate sources of motivation. The Stoics would tell you to transcend these emotions. Machiavelli would tell you to weaponize them. When it's 11 p.m. and you're exhausted and you want to quit, inspiration won't save you. Inspiration is for people with supportive Instagram comments. You run on spite. If I quit now, they were right about me. It's dark fuel, yes, but it burns hot, and right now, you need heat. Here's where the story gets poetic. Machiavelli wrote The Prince, hoping it would get him back into political favor. He dedicated it to Lorenzo de' Medici, basically begging for a job. Lorenzo never even acknowledged it. Machiavelli died in 1527, relatively poor, still excluded from power. But his book, it outlived Lorenzo. It outlived the Medici dynasty. It outlived the Republic of Florence itself. The work, built in isolation, became immortal. The supporters turned to dust. This will happen to you too if you stick with it. Right now, you're in the cottage phase, exiled, alone, writing your masterpiece while the world ignores you. But if you build it right, if you refuse to compromise, if you stay in the ghost protocol long enough to create something undeniable, you won't need to chase support. Support will chase you. And this is the part Machiavelli couldn't have predicted, but you need to hear. When you succeed, not if, when, they will come back. The friend who was too busy will suddenly have time. The family member who questioned you will say, "I always believed in you." The investor who passed will claim they just missed the timing. They will try to rewrite history. They will try to board your ship after you've weathered the storm. Machiavelli would tell you this: be civil, but remember everything. In chapter 15, he writes, "A prince must learn to be able to not be good and use this ability or not according to necessity." Translation: you don't need to be cruel, but you also don't need to be naive. These people showed you who they are when you were at zero. They are fair-weather allies. Their support now is just opportunism. Keep the gate closed. Keep the castle yours. The only people who get a seat at your table are the ones who helped you build the table, and since you built it alone, the table is yours alone. I want to acknowledge something that the motivational industrial complex never does. This path is brutal. Building with zero support isn't some romantic adventure. There are going to be nights where you cry, where you question your sanity, where you wonder if maybe everyone else is right, and you're just too stubborn to see it. Machiavelli had those nights. In his letters, you can see the desperation, the loneliness, the doubt. But he also had something that got him through, a future vision that was bigger than present pain. He wasn't just writing a book, he was writing himself into history. You need that same level of conviction. You're not just building a business or a career. You're building proof that one person with zero support can defy the odds. You're creating evidence that the system is wrong, that you don't need permission, that autonomy is possible. You're becoming your own validation. And when you achieve that, when you look back at the empty rooms and realize you filled them with your own presence, when you see what you built with nothing but will and skill, that feeling is something no amount of support could ever give you. So here's your choice. You can keep looking for support. Keep hoping someone will see your potential and invest in you, mentor you, carry you, and maybe you'll find it. Maybe someone will extend a hand. But you'll always wonder, would I have made it without them? Is this really mine? Or you can take the Machiavellian path, accept the isolation, embrace the difficulty, become so competent, so strategic, so relentlessly effective that support becomes irrelevant. Build your own auxiliary forces, your skills, your systems, your brutal work ethic. Conquer fortune through virtue. And then, when you're standing on the summit, you climbed alone, when the world finally pays attention, when they ask you, how did you do it? You can smile and quote Machiavelli, where the willingness is great, the difficulties cannot be great. You have the willingness. The difficulty is just a test to prove it. Now go build your principality. The prince within you is waiting. Machiavelli wrote The Prince in Exile, in poverty, with zero institutional support. 500 years later, we're still talking about him. The people who had all the support in Renaissance Florence. Footnotes in history books. Support is a luxury. Virtue is eternal. Choose accordingly.